So it looks like, hello, for people that are zooming in and for everyone here. I'm trying to stay in focus in the camera. We're having some technical difficulties if you couldn't figure that out. But anyway, I'm really excited to be here and to introduce Aaron Keaton, who is in my senior seminar in environmental studies. And Aaron has been working all year on his capstone project quite independently. And it's been a passion project as well as a great natural observation project about our local mushroom species. So something that we often don't give attention to, but mushrooms are super important to our ecosystem health. And it's been just thrilling to see Aaron take an idea, expand upon it, really run with it. And I think he's going to share his passion with you. I have mostly just been an observer of him and his expertise. So yeah, he really deserves all the credit. So I'm going to let him take it over, and it's great to be here.
Thank you. So as Nora introduced me, I'm Aaron Keaton, and my faculty mentor was Nora Travis. And today I'm here to talk a little bit about mushrooms and my senior seminar project, which centered around developing a local field guide of the mushrooms I found in the Keene region. So, mushrooms are a really incredible species. I decided to do my project on them because I had a personal interest in them and I wanted to learn more about them. I found out that out of the 1.5 million species of fungi, only about 5% are described in the literature. So I thought that this was a species that I really wanted to focus on and that needed a little bit more attention. For some reason, my slides didn't come on, or do I have to switch it here?
Sometimes you have to highlight down by the arrows.
All right. So 4 main reasons why I think mushrooms are important. Mushrooms are essential to the health of forest ecosystems. They work to spread information and nutrients to other organisms in the forest through their mycelium network, which I'll talk about in a second. Through these networks, they create fundamental symbiotic relationships with other plants and trees where they are connected via this web, where their main purpose is just to promote biodiversity. Mushrooms can actually break down rock, creating soil. So they're basically like the first step in creating soil, which is basically the fundamental part of the whole ecosystem. Through different enzymes, they're able to break down the rock, and just all through their evolutionary history, they've been able to get nutrients that were not available to other organisms. So they kind of were able to get a lot of nutrients and spread it to other organisms to maintain the health of forests. I think they also have a symbiotic relationship with humans through foraging and medicine. When we go out into the forest, I think that mushrooms are a really cool way to become connected to nature. And I think that they have been in our history forever through foraging, through medicine. And I think inevitably we are just forever connected to them. So my last reason is for what I just talked about with the foraging medicine, I think that they can help us reestablish our connection to nature, which is going to help us out with all of our environmental crisis today. So when we think of mushrooms, we usually think of this little mushroom here, cap and stem, pretty traditional mushroom that you would think of. But as I was talking about, the mycelium network is what is really important and is really cool. So that's what we would see here, these little threads. So mycelium is similar to roots in the sense of they're what makes the mushroom live, just like how roots sprout little plants and trees. So the mycelium is all underneath either the soil or within the tree, so you don't see it. But like I said, it's the coolest part. So mycelium is like these threads that are very tenacious, they're very strong, and they hold together and expand out to create these huge networks. Eventually, when the mycelium knots up and a bunch of mycelium come together, they create hyphae, which then will produce a mushroom. The mushroom is the fruiting body, and it's just the little bit that we see from the mycelium. So for my project, I would go out and find these mushrooms. The way I identified them was by basically just looking at the visual characteristics, the stem, the cap. Underneath the cap, you look if they have pores, teeth, gills. You would look at like the spacing and the coloring of those characteristics to figure out what type of mushroom it is. Let's see. Now I'd like to show you some of the mushrooms that I found, tell you a little bit about them. This was a really cool mushroom I found in Surrey, Mycena epitergea. This is actually a mushroom that's usually found in Europe, primarily in England and Ireland. It likes very moist environments. It's called like a landslide mushroom. So this was a really cool mushroom, but I just think that it was the perfect environmental factor and environment for it to grow. So I was able to find it here. This is Phlemulina of Letipes. This is actually an edible mushroom. So this was really cool. And I love this mushroom because it's a winter mushroom. So I was able to find it like all the time. Even when the season was kind of over, I was able to go out and find this mushroom. And this mushroom really proved like how just tenacious like the mycelium network really is, because you could really just like break open the branches and literally in the dead of winter, they were still growing inside. So just a very resilient organism. It's another favorite, Foamentarius. This mushroom has a really long history with human evolution. They've been used throughout history to carry fire. They're a very hard mushroom that you can hollow out and it can carry fire up to hours. The fibers within it can also be processed to make like hats and different like, almost like just like bags, little materials, not really like clothes, but they've made like bags and hats. It almost can like be like a leather-like material once you process it. And another favorite, this is Trametes versicolor, also known as turkey tail. I have that mushroom up there. This is a very medicinal mushroom. It's a really easy mushroom to use medicinally. Like this one was already dried out when I found it, and all you would do is like clean it off. You can soak it in tincture, you can make tea, and they just boost your immune system. They're even known to cure different types of cancer. So this is an incredible mushroom. And then this is a map of all the places I went to find these mushrooms. Some hotspots for me were Goose Pond and Surrey Dam. The forests there were really rich in mushrooms. Also Fitzwilliam. I found a lot of cool mushrooms there. So I basically just went out and spent all my time hiking these trails, looking for the mushrooms, collecting a lot of them, you know, putting them in jars, freezing them so I could bring back home. The pictures on the side are kind of an example of what I would do once I got the mushrooms. I looked under them under the dissecting microscope so that I could really see the gills, really see the color. And if there was a look-alike, that's kind of how I distinguished them. And that's basically it. I just would like to thank my mentor, Nora Travis, for helping me develop this project and really allowing me to go after my passion. And thank you to Cynthia Hayes in biology for letting me use the microscopes. And this is my contact information. I have also been developing a website alongside my field guide. So this is like the cover of my field guide. And within the field guide, it's going to include the mushrooms I showed you and all the other mushrooms that I found in the Monadnock region, along with a description, where it was found, how you can find it, what to do with it. And then on my website, I would like to continue educating people about mushrooms and, you know, just foraging tips, all that. So that's the link to my website. And I'll leave that up if anyone wants to look at it. My last slide is just sources, but thank you. Any questions?
Yes, I have just one thing. When I grew up in the seacoast of New Hampshire, and my father would often go out foraging for mushrooms. And somehow he seemed to know which ones were edible and which ones weren't. And given the vast variety of mushrooms, I wonder how one does that.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from a lot of people too. Whenever I talk about this project, I feel like I get a lot of like family memories, and people talk about how, oh, I went out with my mom or dad and we used to pick little mushrooms. Like my dad said the same thing. And mostly what I got from my dad is just like a lot of it is experience of how you know what is edible, what is not. There's some pretty like telltales of like what you don't want to eat, you know, different bright colors. You know, you usually want to stay right away from like reds and oranges sometimes. But it really depends because you never know, because just like I showed you, there was an orange mushroom that you can eat. So you never know, but you really have to get more specific. If you're going to want to eat it, you definitely have to be an expert, and spore prints is going to come into handy, because when you do have like two little mushrooms that you know you can eat this mushroom, you know you can't eat this mushroom, you're definitely going to have to take a spore print. And based on the colors that the spores drop, you're going to get a little bit more information than like with my field guide. You'll definitely, I'm including like if I know something is edible or not. So, I mean, just using field guides is what you really have to use to know if it's edible or not, because like I said, there's just a lot of lookalikes and you can't ever be sure.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I cut you off. But... yeah, thank you for your question. Is there any other questions on the Zoom? Okay, well, I think that's it. Thank you so much.